little boy is suspended from school for making a finger gun. Thank you for tuning in to the Shikama Live Show. Now, before I give you the details of this very short story, I'm going to give you a little bit more information that the news is not going to tell you. Experts, psychologists, and activists who really care have all come out and said that school for little boys is becoming more and more hostile. So white, black, Asian, Hispanic, whatever, if your child is a male child, more often than not, he's gonna have problems in school, not because your kid is a problem child, but because schools are hostile to male children. For those of you who do not understand, rearing a child, teaching a child, cultivating a male child is different from cultivating a female child. Schools are becoming more and more feminized and more anti-male in the course of their teaching. So you have stories like this. That's why I wanted to preface everything, so when you hear the story, you have somewhat of a backdrop of understanding what you're hearing. This is something that the news is not going to tell you. So the little boy, 10-year-old Mr. Entingh in Ohio, was suspended for forming his hand into a gun, fingers, pointing it at a kid's head and shooting. The teacher said, all right, that's it, you're suspended. And they suspended him for 3 days. Now the father says at the same school, kids get in fights all the time and are never suspended. And if they are, they're never suspended for 3 days. That's nearly a week for school, right? It's only, I'm good at math, right? 5 days. It's only, you know, when I went to kindergarten or whatever grade that is, it was a completely different thing. Now kids are going to school year round. It's a little bit frightening, but they're not graduating at 18 or graduating any earlier. So what we have here, and he is of course responsible for all of the classwork, so somebody has to stay home and homeschool a little Mr. Entingh, and namely the father, which is a fantastic thing. It really, the father, that should be a wake-up call to the father that school is not conducive to training and teaching this little boy. Now, what do I say that schools are becoming more anti-male? Boys are aggressive, especially at 10 years old. That's when the hormones start to kick in. That's when the hormones really start to kick in. 10 to 13, it's over. It's a done deal. And by 16, you're in full male swing, right? So at 10 years old, the hormones are starting to kick in, starting to fire off. The aggressiveness, they become, at 9 years old, boys and girls completely diverge. Boys take on more weight, more muscle. Girls start to develop whatever, and they become weaker and what have you, compared to little boys. Up until 9 years old, they're both equal. They both have the same amount of aggression or docileness or whatever. Now, schools are consistently engaging in female-oriented activities, sitting down, reading. Not to say that boys aren't conducive to reading and sitting down, but the entire day of sitting down and reading, that is conducive to little girls. Little boys need activity. Anybody who is actually a good parent, who actually understands the developmental stages of little boys, will tell you that little boys need activity. Children in general need activity, but for whatever reason, the schools have decided that in their infinite wisdom of their whole socialistic, communistic sort of strategy of teaching children that girls should have honed their artistic side of their brain. And so sitting down and reading and taking turns, and this is not conducive to rearing a boy child, nor will we want that, because for every boy that you teach to sit down and read, there's probably 10 other boys who are doing something active. And so when they grow up and they get into the real world and they get into a situation where it's a bunch of men, they are not going to socialize very well at all. Trust me on that. Everybody talks about nerds. More often than not, nerds are a product of a feminist sort of type of educational system. Sit down and read. Yeah, it's one thing to be interested in computers. I'm a programmer. I'm a designer. I sit down all day long, but I need activity too. You can tell just from my videos, I'm so very active. I'm still a man. So I walk, I run, I work out, I still do manly type of things. And this is what little boys need. Men are active. They're not sitting down and knitting. Really, they aren't. Now, they might do activities like that occasionally. Even professionally, they might do stuff like that. But they need activity. And the entire school is against them. Aggressiveness is bad. Activity is bad. Cops and robbers, bad. Even when I say cops and robbers, what do you visualize in your mind? You visualize little boys running around in cops and robbers types of outfits, or cowboys and Indians. That evokes to you an image of little boys running around playing with each other, right? For school, that is bad. For school, that is terrible. Now, here's another story that I'm just going to throw in here. A little boy answered the door when somebody knocked at it at his house. This is a completely different story. In his hand, he had a Nintendo Wii remote. So you see the scenario here? He's opening the door. He has the Nintendo Wii remote. Now, the Nintendo Wii remote is white. It's pure white, and it has a string on it. That's a Nintendo, and it has a strap on it. The person on the other side of the door was a female cop, and she said she thought she saw a gun in his hand, and she shot him dead. She thought she saw a gun in his hand. This is a trained professional. They don't exist anymore. We don't train our cops. This is the society that we live in right now. This is what's going on. We have to take our cities back. We have to take our government back. We have to take our schools back. Or ask for a school just for boys, or send your kid to a school just for boys. And a school just for boys, they're gonna know that little boys need activity. They're gonna know that boys like to play cops and robbers to such a degree that if the boy points his finger at somebody's head and says bang, the other boy is so excited to be playing that he falls down dead and pretend. It's all such good fun for little boys. It's fantastic fun. And not even for little boys, for big boys too. What is it, paintball? Yeah, you pretend to die in paintball, right? That's the whole idea. You are engaged in the entire activity. And they are trying to beat it out of children, punish it out of little boys, and shame it out of little boys. They have little girls on TV said the boys are so aggressive, they're always answering without raising their hand. Need I say more? Thank you for watching the Shikama Live Show. Please share my videos. Any video that you watch of me, please share on Facebook, Twitter, IamGur, other stuff that I don't know about. Thank you for watching.